Jim, so it's all about energy versus time. Talk about that, because we've been so obsessed about time.
Yeah, I think we've all been duped. You know, we've been sold this idea, and nobody did it maliciously, but they kind of set the stage that our lives are going to be determined by our ability to schedule our time according to what our values are. And that once you know what's important, just schedule the time and be present, and your life's going to get better, and you're going to grow the things you want. The absolute fact is it's not true. Time has no power, no valence. It doesn't move anything. All it does is take you from absent to present, from not being there to being there. But it's not until you rally your energy that any kind of value can be abstracted from being present. You can be home with your family, but if you're a dead person walking, you can be on that cell phone, you can be on the conference call, you can spend 25 years in a marriage, but unless you rally the energy aligned with what you most want, you can get a reverse return for the investment of your time. And people don't get it. You often get the exact opposite because you're obsessed with time. It's not about time, not about how long you live, but the energy you brought to the time that you were here, aligned with what matters most to you. That's the formula of success.
Yeah, but Jim, stress. It's sucking all of our energy. We're under tremendous stress, more than it feels like ever before. Talk to us about stress.
There's another huge myth here. We've all been taught that stress is a killer, and that our lives are going to be happier and we'll be healthier if we can just avoid stress. Be very careful. Don't expose yourself to too much stress, and be real careful how you get into that. And I will tell you, it's exactly false. That if you look at the longitudinal data on stress, it's not stress that kills you. It's chronic stress that kills you.
So that's the key word, chronic stress.
It's chronic, and what that means is the culprit is not stress. It's the insufficiency of periodic recovery.
Okay.
Recovery is the key. If you're in a high-stress cycle, recover a lot. You know what will happen? You'll grow. If you take stress out of your life, you will cease to grow. As soon as you put any kind of limits on your stress, you're limited your boundaries. You want to chase stress until you die. You just have to be very skilled at understanding how to recover, to balance the stress, and life is great. If you have too much recovery, you just go to the beach and hang out, it's over. And if you have too much stress, you become a crispy critter, and you'll blame old man stress. But the problem was you didn't oscillate, seek recovery in sufficient volume and sufficient frequency to balance the toxicity that came from the stress. But the forces of stress are the forces of life.
And you know, I'm always recall from one of your early books about just what you learned about tennis players.
Absolutely.
How you studied that even recovery of a few seconds.
Yeah, I did a whole treatise on 16 seconds. I looked at all the best players in the world.
All right.
And somebody like a Steffi Graf only took 16 seconds between points. But I used all this very sophisticated, at that time, telemetry to show what the best players in the world were doing between points, time when no one else ever even looked at training.
About that, yeah.
Nobody, but it was about 70 to 80% of a match is something you're not actually playing points. So I looked at what people were doing in the non-playing time, and that was the differentiator between the great ones and the not so great ones.
Yeah, so
and what we found was that they were dropping their heart rate magnificently between points. If they dropped it enough, they could drop it in 16 to 20 seconds, and they're ready for the next dose of stress. Wow. The flatter their heart rates got, the more in trouble they got, either at the low end, which means they stopped trying, or at the high end, they were choking. And if they oscillated, they could handle it. So we started teaching people how to oscillate between points, and it's changed the way tennis teachers now train all their athletes. It's been now taken into golf and everything else. But it was all the data that we collected around what happens to a person when they actually get into a stress cycle and are able to oscillate appropriately. They're fine. They bring out their best.
And so for us, this 90 minutes is a magical thing. Because folks will find that they'll sit at their desk for hours. Talk about this.
Well, we found that the human system works okay for about 90 minutes. If you can stretch it to 2 hours if you're highly conditioned. Okay. But if you're not moving, you're not hydrating, you're not replenishing blood sugar stores, glycogen stores start to become depleted. So the oxygenation, you're sitting on your largest muscle, your gluteus maximus, and so oxygen to the brain is starting to get diminished. You're not getting glucose to the cells. And so you start making, you don't even know it, but you're starting to make bad decisions. You're getting a little spacey. You're not really paying attention. And if you start oscillating every 90 minutes, you get up and move around, get up and down stairways, go get some water, hydrate, get some nice nutritious food that will, it's not high on the glycemic index, preferably low on the glycemic index, so it doesn't cause your blood sugar to spike. You can go all day, you just go in 90-minute cycles. and you can come home at night and you're not a dead person walking with your family. You can teach them how to manage their energy. It's all about getting your energy to correspond with the demands of your life. Find when you can recover, and you need about 10, 15 minutes every 90 minutes to recover strategically. And we can do that. And we need to build cultures that support that, because that's how we're engineered. That's the absolute truth about the way our system works.
And there's these 4 types of energy that, interestingly enough, just walking will re-energize all 4.
Will affect all. You get recovery from all of them.
So mention the 4 real quick.
So you have physical energy.
Which walking will.
Which, if you've been sitting and not moving, you oscillate, so you get moving.
Yeah.
Emotionally, if you're moving and you exercise, you release all these powerful catecholamines into the system. Yeah. It's called the catecholamine wash. And what that does is it completely kind of clears the emotional computer. You're much more positive. You're not worried about all that stuff. You feel really good after you've worked a little bit, exercise. And mentally, when you're exercising or walking, you're not thinking about the stuff that you were thinking about, so you're actually allowing the brain to get, in a sense, a little bit of recovery from constantly pushing the same things. So you change channels mentally. And spiritually, if you're doing it for the right reason, because you want to have more energy when you're coming home tonight, and you want to be a great example for everyone in the office to take care of themselves because you're really pushing them to do that, you care about them, it's also a dip into the rich material of recovery at the spiritual level. So you just did a 10-minute walk or 15-minute little exercise session, and you actually oscillated across all dimensions of who we are as an energy species.
Jim, thank you so much.
Hey, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me here. It was just awesome.
Good.
I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Thank you.